I'm about to head out to the garage to do a very important, potentially critical mod to my 1981 Yamaha SR250 project bike. It turns out that all of the 1981 to 1984 Yamaha SR250, TT250, and XT250 models are affected by a problem that could cause oil starvation to the head of the motorcycle, resulting in a meltdown or the engine blowing up, and I guess a whole lot of bikes were trashed if this mod wasn't made. Now, Yamaha did issue a tech bulletin on this back in the day. I only have a low-res version because that's all that's floating around the internet, but it was a help to me, and I'll put a link below in the description to this in case you want to do the mod. And the parts that we're going to need are just one of these little roll pins. I bought a packet of 8 of them from Amazon for $6 or $7. We'll need a new side cover gasket, and then they also recommend swapping out this seal while we're at it. So the gasket, the seal, one of these roll pins, and the tech bulletin. Let's go give this a go. Hopefully it won't be too difficult, and hopefully it will save this SR250 engine and potentially others. Before we begin, let's take a look at the motorcycle's serial number. If this mod has already been done, there should be a small punch mark above the dash on the serial number here. There is no punch mark above the dash. We know a mechanic has not done the mod, so this bike definitely needs it. If you already have that punch mark above the dash, then you should be good to go. Here's where we'll be working on the right side of the bike, removing this engine case. So I've already drained the oil. You may just want to do this as part of a normal oil change routine that you do. And let's get this cover off. First, the foot peg comes off to give us access. I like to always use an impact driver to remove these screws, just because it gives a good positive release to the screws, no risk of stripping the heads out. Note that the ground wire is attached back here. We want to be sure to reattach that. Sometimes these cases can use a couple little taps with a rubber mallet to help break them loose. You don't want to use metal here, that can get you into trouble. Here's the gasket we'll be replacing. And the whole reason we're here is because this journal right here, this hole that leads into the crankshaft, is too large, and it diverts too much oil from the engine over to the crankshaft and doesn't send enough oil up to the top end of the cylinder. So we need to constrict the flow here just a little bit. And here's how we're going to be restricting that oil flow with this little roll pin that's going to pinch into that orifice. We need to put it 7 millimeters depth into that shaft journal. Now, this pin is 6 millimeter by 20 millimeter, and that's what people have recommended online to use because the OEM pin is no longer available. But be aware, this is not the OEM part, so I guess there is some slight risk here, but I feel confident enough to do it on my own bike. Now, to get this pin into here, we're going to tap it in. I'm going to use some vice grips to very lightly clamp down on it, just to give me a little more room to work, to hold on to it. I certainly don't want to crush this pin or put too much pressure on it. Now let's see if we can tap that in there. Okay, that seemed to start pretty easy. Feels good so far. Now I need to sink that to a 7mm depth inside there. So I need to find something to put on the edge. It looks like this 6mm bolt should be the right diameter to help push that in. So I've measured 7mm to this nut, and I'm hoping I can just tap that in, and when it bottoms out here on the nut, that will be exactly 7mm into the shaft there. I'll be very gentle here. Okay, it's going in just fine. And there we go. 7mm. I am super happy with how that went. Now it's time to remove the old gasket. It's brittle. It's going to take some scraping with a razor blade. Now let's swap out this seal. I like to take the new gasket and just give it a very light coating of engine oil so that it doesn't stick to the case quite as badly the next time around. We hope we aren't back in here anytime soon, but if we are, I'll also check this surface to make sure there's no gasket material stuck on the engine side, and there isn't. Let's reinstall the drain plug underneath. With the engine oil topped off, it's time to give it a start. But first I'm going to loosen this bolt back here. It's a bleed screw just to make sure that oil is circulating through the motorcycle. We'll loosen that up a turn or two. And then after the bike's been running a minute or so, oil should flow out around the bolt. The moment of truth. There we go. The oil's flowing out just as it should. Everything appears to be working just the way that it should, so I'm going to put the foot peg back on it, check my oil level, and it's time to take it for a ride and test it out. Oh, I almost forgot one very important thing. We need to place that punch mark above the dash on the serial number so that everyone knows the modification has been done to this motorcycle. And there it is, not perfectly centered, but that should do the job. I've been riding for about 20 minutes and the bike is doing great, both when I started it up and when I stopped just a couple of minutes ago to check. There's no smoke coming from the exhaust, there's no leak coming from around the engine side case, and the bike doesn't appear to be using any oil, so everything checks out just fine. I would call it a success, but of course I want to put some more miles in because one, I want to check it, and two, it's an incredibly beautiful December day. We might hit 50 degrees today. You'll notice I've got my little windshield and hand mitts on here. If you haven't seen my video on the winter upgrades I've made to the motorcycle, I'll post that up above here in the upper right of the video. And otherwise, I'm just going to keep on riding. I do thank you for watching this far. If you've liked this video, please do give it a like, and I hope you'll consider subscribing for more riding and wrenching videos. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you can get out on a bike sometime soon too, and have a great day and ride safe.